We begin today with millions of Americans feeling even more pain at the pump. The war with Iran pushing oil and gas prices higher worldwide. And according to AAA, the average price for gas crossed the $4 per gallon mark today for the first time since 2022. That's up more than $1 per gallon since before the war began. CBS News reporter Lana is live for us at a gas station in Iowa City, Iowa. Lana, you're in a heartland and have been talking to farmers. What are you hearing from them?
Hey there, Liz. Yeah, it is affecting everybody out here, those high fuel prices, but it's also affecting some people more than others. Particularly true if you rely on diesel, like truck drivers or farmers. I want to play a little bit of sound from Lance Lillibridge. He's a farmer in northern Iowa that I caught up with. Take a listen. Start getting nervous every time you have to fill this guy up now?
Yeah, there goes $300.
That was $300 just now. How would that have compared to before the war?
Probably a little over two, maybe less. Yeah.
And how long will these $300 worth of diesel last you?
If I work all day, not the whole day. We're close to it.
And he says he has 5 different tractors. That one was sort of a mid-sized tractor for him. His larger tractor is now costing him about $500 a day to fill up. So you can see all of that adds up to additional thousands of dollars in the busy spring planting season. And these farmers were hoping to recover from really devastating losses last year. It's also true, just a little bit away from here is the I-80 corridor that runs across the country. A lot of truck drivers who are also saying that they have to pay a lot of money just to fuel up and go to do their work. Those semis, about 300-gallon tanks for them. So we're talking about hundreds of dollars day after day after day. And all of that, of course, Liz, has a ripple effect for everybody in these communities.
Unbelievable, Lana. I mean, when you think about $300 just to fill up that mid-sized tractor, and that's not even going to last him the entire day. That's amazing.
Right. Yeah.
Hitting farmers hard. All right, Lana, thank you so much. All right, I want to bring in CBS News Money Watch correspondent Kelly O'Grady to explain what's driving up these prices. Kelly, why are Americans feeling so much pain at the pump from this war when the U.S. gets a very small percentage of its oil through the Strait of Hormuz?
It's a fair question, right? We are an energy exporter. We produce so much oil and gas in this country. A lot of people are saying that. That being said, oil is traded on a global market, so it's priced globally. This is not something where this producer is going to sell it to you for this much or this one is going to sell it to you for this much locally. So when you see countries like Asia or other continents like Asia, a lot of the countries there are buying oil that does travel through the Strait of Hormuz. Well, now if they aren't able to get it they're going to have to get that from somewhere else, perhaps from the U.S. or from places that the U.S. buys from. And so that demand and that sort of finite or fixed amount of supply or less supply, because you don't have all of that oil coming through the Strait of Hormuz, that's going to drive prices up. So that's the way to think about this. Globally, that's how oil is traded. Those prices are set. And so even when you see the slightest fluctuation, maybe perhaps, an energy infrastructure is hit somewhere that is way far away from here, that is still going to impact the price of oil and therefore the price that you and I pay at the pump.
Yeah, and it's not just gas prices, Kelly. Americans are also dealing with higher mortgage rates, which are up for the 4th straight week. And according to Freddie Mac, the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate rose almost 6.4% last week. Before the war, they were around 6%. Is this another consequence of the war?
It absolutely is. And let me explain why. It's a little bit indirect, but it's a really important point that I think a lot of Americans are feeling in an indirect way because of this war. So we just talked about rising oil prices and gas prices, and Lana talked about in her segment how it's also diesel prices, and that flows through to farmers and the economy and the price of groceries that you and I buy when we go to the store. Now, that could lead to rising inflation. That's something that we saw in the summer of 2022, shortly after Russia invaded Ukraine. You had another oil supply crunch. And so when you have rising energy prices, which lead to rising inflation, or even the fear that something like that is going to happen, something called the 10-year Treasury, it's government debt, it's a government bond, that starts to go up because investors say, well, if there's going to be high inflation, we don't want to put our money there. We don't want to buy government debt if we feel like it's more risky. And we're going to need a higher return to convince us to put our money over here long term. Now, the 10-year Treasury is important because that is what the 30-year fixed mortgage is most influenced by. So when that rises, when investors are concerned that inflation is going to go up, that's when you also see the 30-year fixed mortgage go up. And everyone right now is concerned about inflation rising because of those rising energy prices due to the war with Iran.
Sure. All right, Kelly O'Grady, always good to see you. Thanks so much. Well, our CBS News gas and oil price tracker shows just how much energy costs are rising amid the Iran war. And it also breaks down the cost per state. You can find more information on our website, cbsnews.com.